Hello, my name is Larry Goldberg, and I am the head of accessibility for Verizon Media, where I've been for about the past 7 years. Verizon Media is a division of the corporation Verizon, and our group was formed by the acquisition of Yahoo and AOL a number of years ago. Before I joined Verizon, I was the head of the National Center for Accessible Media at WGBH Boston, and their head of their media access group. WGBH is where closed captioning and video description were first developed as a way to make mainstream media in public broadcasting and elsewhere fully accessible to people who were deaf or blind. My background and my history is in making mainstream technologies accessible for people with disability, and that really was the goal of the National Center for Accessible Media and has colored my approach to working with people with disabilities and making sure the technologies they use can be fully accessible from the beginning. And note, I'll be talking about Born Accessible, a concept that was developed years ago by Betsy Bowman, former CEO of Benetech. I really welcome this opportunity to contribute to the Innovation Workshop, and I hope I can help influence the future direction of NSF's Convergence Accelerator program. I've always been focused on enhancing and remediating mainstream technology and media to be accessible for people with disabilities either directly or through compatibility with specialized assistive technology. I've always believed that research and development must include a pathway to pervasive dissemination of solutions. That any R&D project that is funded under this program or anywhere else at NSF should always include from the very beginning partnerships with top tech companies, top commercial companies, so that when great ideas are created in the laboratory or put down on white papers, they don't stop there. They get into the hands of millions and millions of people who can really use these innovations. It's unfortunate when a new technology is developed at a university or in a laboratory and doesn't go any further. It's an unfortunate waste. And I've always been dedicated to finding ways of embedding innovations right into the kind of technologies that people use every day. I've even started using many years ago the term accessible mainstream technology, AMT, to partner along with AT, which at times has been the tradition of rehab engineering. Build it right in from the earliest design phase. And that's what Born Accessible means. Two simple words that really encapsulate an awful important issue that any mainstream technology that's going to influence our society and get into people's hands should be built to be accessible from the earliest moment straight through to launch and every time it's updated. Two particular kinds of technologies that I did work on in the early days. One of them, the most basic, television. Television wasn't accessible from the early days, but at WGBH we worked to enhance the technology, the standards, the systems, so that closed captioning has become pervasive, built into every TV set, now every online streaming media. And that came through a lot of development work, but always with an eye to proliferation widely. And then look at the iPhone. VoiceOver is built into every iPhone and it's free. It's built into the Mac operating system. Initially, if you wanted to access any kind of digital technology, you'd have to buy specialized technology and hope that it would be compatible with the technology you were acquiring. Building it in must be the goal of any R&D that's funded by taxpayer dollars, not bolted on after the fact. Now, there are two ways that I've been working on addressing and trying to advance this concept. And the first is called Teach Access. It's a collaborative of universities, people with disabilities, and corporations that want to bring the teaching of how to design and develop right into university classrooms and in required courses, not in electives, not in after-school activities, but built right into CompSci 101, web design. And we're working with universities and we're scaling up as rapidly as we can to make sure universities understand and know how they can change. And as you know, universities are not necessarily so quick to change. I believe NSF can help accelerate that program by helping universities understand and develop curricula so that these subject matters can be taught to future generations of technologists who will be building our future. The other aspect that Teach Access has been working on is accreditation. As we know, colleges and universities do have requirements to be accredited via various criteria. Those criteria barely mention accessibility for people with disabilities, and it's time they build it right in. And I believe NSF can have a major influence on those accreditation criteria. You can learn more about the work being done by Teach Access at teachaccess.org. We have not had NSF support in the past, and we really do need it. The other end of building technology into new and emerging technology is our XR Access project at xraccess.org. Again, a consortium of people with disabilities, industry, academia, to build right into the emerging infrastructure of virtual reality, augmented reality, immersive reality, extended reality, all the necessary infrastructure, features, and hooks so that people with disabilities can access and enjoy what is becoming a mainstream technology after many years of development. These technologies are going to affect all of society in learning, on the workplace, at the job, in healthcare, and in entertainment and social media. And we need to build the technologies to make sure anything and everything that's developed in this field is accessible to people with disabilities. Now, there are going to be a lot of very interesting XR technologies built specialized for people with disabilities, but we want to make sure that no matter what the technology is, no matter what the product is, it has inherent, embedded, built-in accessibility features and functionality. And we believe the time is now to do that. Cornell Tech in New York is heading up our research network, and they are exemplifying the kind of work that needs to be done to make sure the XR Access technologies of the future are built accessibly. My final point I'd like to make is a little bit of a political one. Right now in Congress, there's a bill called the Endless Frontier Act, and it promises to change radically how we do R&D in this country. It would be a massive investment in R&D to enhance this country's competitiveness. It would add a new directorate to NSF for technology and innovation. And I believe, and many people I work with in the disability community, believes that every dollar spent, and there are massive dollars being proposed, must attend to the impact and the inclusion of people with disabilities. And that is in the R&D that's going to be done around AI and cyber protection, machine learning, and whatever else we need to do in this country to stay competitive. But what we need to do when we make these technologies competitive is to make sure they're inclusive as well, right from the beginning, as a requirement for receiving federal dollars. This Endless Frontier Act promises to establish centers of excellence throughout the country in underserved communities. And we believe that those centers not only each should have subject matter expertise on accessibility and include the input and direction of people with disabilities, but that a separate center should be set up to develop emerging technologies so that we can take advantage of what is emerging and apply them directly into these technologies that will be enhancing the security and productivity of people in this country and our industry. So with that, I will leave you to your workshop. Sorry I won't be able to attend, but I hope that these thoughts about mainstreaming the technology and making sure that R&D goes straight into industry and is partnering with industry so it can get into the hands of as many people as possible is welcomed, and I welcome the opportunity to discuss this issue further. Thank you for your time.